There is an addictive quality to building those walls with cascading digital blocks, so addictive that in the Soviet Union, where Tetris was created in 1984, the government blocked it from state computers because it was ruining productivity. It was made available outside the Iron Curtain a few years later, and it's now one of the most popular video games of all time. In the beginning, it was played in arcades and on handheld devices. Today, it's on cell phones. In Brazil, they put it on the side of a building. At the Burning Man Festival, there was a version using flaming blocks. And people have even dressed up like Tetris pieces called Tetrominoes.
It was so simple, and it was one of those like simple to play but impossible to master kind of games.
Its creator, Soviet-born computer engineer Alexei Pajitnov, said he was looking for a way to use computers to make people happy.
Every time people come to me and say, "Oh, you did made Tetris," I spent so much hour on this game, so much hour. And I ask, was it a good or bad hour? Of course it was great hour. I never think that this is a bad addiction.
This is it? The original?
A slightly embellished version of how the game escaped from behind the Iron Curtain is portrayed in a new film now on Apple TV Plus, called, appropriately enough, Tetris.
If you were to put it in percentage, it's about 90% factual. Yeah, there's a couple of little moments of license, but it's a crazy story.
I played Tetris for 5 minutes. Yeah. I still see falling blocks in my dreams.
Taron Egerton stars as the American businessman who raced to license the game as Soviet communism was going through an identity crisis. The film has been described as part John le Carre Cold War spy thriller, part Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego? Noah Pink is the screenwriter of Tetris. Noah, I have to ask, I've read that you've described this as a passion project. Are you a Tetris player?
I must admit, I lost a lot of my childhood to Tetris on Game Boy. And when you grow up in Nova Scotia and you want to go anywhere, it's at least 4 to 8 hours in a car. So I spent a lot of time on Tetris as a kid.
How did you come to be aware of the story of how Tetris came about?
The moment I heard about it, I knew that this could be a great movie. And then the more I researched it and the more I looked into it, the more I realized that the heart of the story was actually a movie beyond just the high stakes of, getting the rights to a game. It was really a story of friendship, and that's kind of what set me off on my journey. If you're pitching a movie today, the last thing you want to say is, I want to make a movie about intellectual property battles, because people's eyes will glaze over right away. That being said, this movie is about so much more than that. What I found in it was the story of these two guys who were from different parts of the world who found a friendship through their shared love of gaming.
I've read you say that the key to sort of shaping the story was getting the two characters you just talked about, Alexei Pajitnov, the computer engineer who designed Tetris, and Hank Rogers, the American video game publisher who struggled to get the rights to the game, to get them on board to work with you. Mr. Pajitnov has acknowledged there is some artistic license in the movie. How did you decide what to keep factual, what to keep sort of true to the story, and what to dramatize?
My main goal when telling the story was to really get down to the emotional truth of everything. Some of the external antagonism that is introduced in the movie is a little bit of a fabrication on top of the reality, but at its core, I wanted to make sure that everything for the characters especially felt true, and that's where Hank and Alexei really came in handy.
Your previous project before Tetris, you created a series for National Geographic called Genius. You looked at the life stories of Albert Einstein and then Pablo Picasso. You seem to be drawn to fact-based stories centering around people, real people. Why do you think that is?
I really love telling stories about things that we thought we knew, but in fact had no idea. We all know what Tetris is. We all grew up playing it, or at least hearing about it, but none of us had an idea that this guy risked his house and home and life to literally go across, into a place and lie his way into the Soviet Union to get the rights to this video game so that it could be on our Game Boys. It's kind of a crazier than true story.
You also detail sort of the Kafkaesque bureaucracy of the Soviet Union, and also that sort of the beginning of the end, the sort of unfraying of Soviet communism. Were those important points to you that you wanted to illustrate?
The initial name for this script before we went to production was called Falling Blocks, which is BLOCS. And I felt like that was, the story behind the story. This was a country that was going through glasnost and perestroika. The really interesting part about that time was that nobody had any idea the Soviet Union was going to end in 2 years. And so there was a lot of, existential questions being asked at all levels.
The movie is Tetris. It's streaming on Apple TV+. The screenwriter is Noah Pink. Noah, thank you very much.
Thanks so much for your time. Appreciate it.